Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We know how bad the NHS is in Scotland. We're constantly hearing terrible news stories about this or terrible news stories about that. All sorts of terrible news keeps coming out of the NHS in Scotland. Well, that's all about to change. Humza Yousaf has spent over £8.5 million on doctors. And that means that there's going to be no more bad news coming out of the NHS. That's because these doctors aren't medical doctors. They're spin doctors. And rather than actually hiring real doctors to sort out the problem, he's spending £8.5 million on these people so that you don't hear about the problems. Or if you do, it's been spun in such a way that it's actually virtuous and great when your granny can't get her replacement hip. It's the guy living on another planet. £8.5 million spent on spin doctors. Why not spend it on, real doctors? What is he playing at? Do you know how much £8.5 million would do in nurse care, for example? It's beyond a joke. He thinks fixing the problem is so hard that it's easier to just imagine there's no problem there at all. If wishes were horses, eh? Here goes. So anger as £8.5 million spent on health service spin doctors, not on real ones. It's a joke, isn't it? This man is an absolute joke. He has one job and he can't even do it. He cannot sort out the NHS. So he buys in doctors, spin doctors, to spin the problem away, to make it look as though there is no problem. We all know there's a problem. It doesn't matter how much money he spunks away on these media types that go, oh, we can spin it this way, we can do it that way. The fact remains that the waiting lists are the worst it's ever been, and that the cancer survival rates are crashing because of his inability to do his job, first as health minister and now as first minister. He needs to look at himself and decide that, yes, you're quite right, everybody. I am unable to do this job. I am in over my head. I need to resign for the good of the country. But he won't, will he? He want to hang on there, grasping little fingers. Scotland's health boards and the government department overseeing them are spending £8.5 million a year on spin doctors, while patients suffer unprecedented waits. Figures obtained by Scottish Labour using Freedom of Information showed the bill for the country's 14 regional and 8 special NHS boards had also risen 13% in a year. That, when you're increasing your spend on spin doctors by that amount each year, that is a direct reflection of how worse the NHS is getting year on year. If you need to increase the spinning because, it's disgusting, really, isn't it? Let's face it, it's beyond disgusting. How about not spending a single penny on spin doctors and just hiring more doctors? That would surely help. The party said the eye-watering numbers showed a focus on the wrong priorities. The priorities being make us look good, not help the people of Scotland. The bill for health board communications officers rose from 6.6 million to 7.5 million last year as the NHS employed more than 180 whole-time equivalent staff in the field. And in addition, the Scottish Government's Health and Social Care Department employed a further 37 staff at a cost of just over £1 million. So £8.5 million spinning the fact that they have got a crappy health service because nobody wants to do the job. The figures, however, are likely to be an underestimate as they use the lowest points on the pay bands of the staff involved, and some actual wages will of course be much higher. 2 regional health boards had communications staff bills of more than £500,000. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and NHS Lanarkshire. Glasgow and Clyde is already deep in poo. It's the one that's employing private investigators to investigate the families of people who've died. Someone dies in a hospital, they hire these private investigators to go and spy on the families in case the families get a bit uppity and want, investigations and to possibly sue them. That's where the money's being spent. Not spent on patient care, spent on spin doctors and spent on private investigators to investigate families. Is it any wonder the NHS in Scotland is falling apart at the seams? No one is spending a brass farthing on a plaster. It's all spin doctor that, professional that, private investigator there. Nothing on medical. The 3 special health boards also topped £500,000. NHS 24, Health Improvement Scotland and NHS Education for Scotland. The State Hospital at Carstairs had a communications bill of almost £118,000 for 3 staff members for a facility of 140 beds. That's what, £850 a bed. How can you possibly spend that? Despite there being fewer health board communication staff than at this time last year, the wage bill had increased by over £880,000, or 13%, according to the Freedom of Information data. What the hell are these people doing? Why are they doing it? What on earth are we paying them for? They're not contributing in any way to patient care, and ultimately that's the only thing that matters. I get you need ancillary staff in a hospital. You need, you need your account staff. You need your purchasing staff. You need your secretarial staff, your admin staff. Of course you do. You need your health staff, of course, your medical staff, your doctors, nurses, specialist technicians. And you do need the ancillary staff as well, otherwise it just falls apart. I get that. But you need all the spin doctors, communication staff, private investigators. Name one thing they do that contributes to patient care. Nothing. They should be making these things illegal. The average wage rise for individual NHS staff, including nurses, midwives and paramedics, allied health professionals, porters and others, over the last year was 6.5%. So effectively a 4% pay cut, given the rate of inflation. Because any pay rise that doesn't match inflation is a pay cut. Scottish Labour health spokesman Jackie Bailey said, "It is an absolute disgrace that over £8.5 million is being ploughed into an army of spin doctors while our health service is on its knees." I have a lot of time for Jackie Bailey. A&E waits continue to be high. 1 in 7 Scots are on an NHS waiting list. And there is a recruitment crisis on the front line in our NHS. We don't need more spin. We need proper investment in staff who are dealing with patients. Of course, people need to know what is happening in their area, what services they can expect to access, and any urgent changes to this. But this level of investment in so-called communications is outrageous. And it's beyond a joke. And there's nothing there that the existing admin staff can't do. Admin staff can publish stuff on a web page. Admin staff can organise a printer. Admin staff can do this. You don't need to bring in £8.5 million worth of outside spin. Indeed, in some cases, bosses of these departments are earning just shy of £100,000. Why is anyone who's not medical earning £100,000 in a hospital? Seriously. This is unjustifiable when staff on the front line are working long shifts but struggling to put food on the table during a cost of living crisis. This is a government with wrong priorities. And I guarantee by the end of this, it will be Westminster's fault that they need spin doctors. She said, "It's time we stripped back to the spinners and invested properly in the hard-working staff at the coalface who continue to support our NHS while being failed by the SNP." She's bang on, she's bang on. First Minister yesterday was asked in a TV interview about the record of 780,000 patients waiting on waiting lists in Scotland. Now, remember, there's only 5 million people. So that's like, that's an immense amount. He told Sky News, "The pandemic was the biggest shock that hit our NHS in its almost 75-year existence. That was 3 years ago. Bullshit with the pandemic. You've had 3 years. Cut the cod." He said, in terms of the NHS here in Scotland, we stand on a record that shows Scotland's A&E departments are the best performing for well over 7 years. In your mind? In fact, in winter, he said, that's just past. There was only one nation in the UK that didn't lose a single day to strikes and the NHS. Not going to happen. You won't be saying that soon, will you? All the doctors in Scotland are about to go on strike because you won't pay them or invest in hospitals. He said, that was Scotland, of course, while I was a health secretary. Yes, you were the health secretary who oversaw the fastest rise in waiting lists in Scotland's entire history. So stop spinning your own record, to make it look like you've got medals to pin on, mate. You've got no medals. Little pointy hat with a big D on it. Go stand in the corner. That's what you need. He said, when it comes to those longest waits on the NHS, if you look at those people who've been waiting over 2 years, we've made dramatic reductions. When it's inpatients outpatients are indeed. It doesn't even make sense what he's saying there. Who are indeed those who are waiting for diagnostic tests. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's bad journalism. He said there are challenges there for the NHS. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Yeah, the biggest one being you're wanking money away on spin when you should be putting it into frontline healthcare. And there's no getting away. You can't lie your way out of this one like you lie your way out of everything else. Then he's going on about a 4-year-old global pandemic that nobody believes you with. Stop lying. A Scottish Government spokesman said, allocation of resources is a matter for individual boards, although we expect this to be done in a proportionate way that is in the best interest of patients and staff. Okay, in the best interests of patients, no spin. And in the best interest of staff, no spin, give them a pay rise. There you go. Problem solved. Patients and staff. Patients happy, staff happy. More doctors, higher pay. No spin. Easy, that, isn't it? Easy. If you don't like it, fine. Stop using spin. Admit your mistakes. And you have to wonder why they're doing it. Well, we know why. Because he doesn't want to look bad. And if he can get the spinners to go, oh, well, there's this and there's this. Well, do you know that there was a Thursday last week when we had the best results of any nation? There was 20 minutes of that day when we saw more people. That's the kind of spin they're putting on. Never mind the little things. Look at the big things. Is the NHS in Scotland falling apart? Yes, it is. Has it got record waiting lists? Yes, it does. Who increased those waiting lists? Ladies and gentlemen, the person on your screen at the moment. Exhibit A. He did this. He's to blame. And now he's trying to spin his way out of it. Screw him. I'm coming up. When the final tally is taken and the people who have suffered the most have a chance to vote, you know which way they'll vote. They'll look at either their own experiences on a waiting list or in hospital, or the experiences of their friends and family and loved ones. Now, some of them will just still vote SNP because they're stupid, but some will actually go, no, the NHS has fallen apart under these people. And when they find out that £8.5 million a year is being spent on spin doctors and not on real doctors, they'll probably think, maybe somewhere else. Maybe my ex will go in a different box this time. And hopefully next time I need a hospital, it won't be quite so bad. He's playing with people's lives and he's destroying people's lives for the want of actually putting the money into a hospital. He just wants to look good. Well, it doesn't look good when you've got the worst waiting lists of any of the 4 home nations. And ultimately that's where we are. Look at me. Oh, we treated more people. Yeah. But your waiting lists are the worst. No point talking about treating a lot of people if those people are dying on waiting lists before they even get treated. Anyway, we all know what he is. All know what he's like. And how he's still in a job, I don't know. I shall finish there, though. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Definitely leave a like, really helps with the metrics. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay the hell out of hospital if you can, and goodbye.